that's complaint based. I'm the only one in the county that and you'll explain state your case, and then, what's that? You'll state your case. The judge will determine whether or not there's merit to it, and then ask you, are you willing to sign a citation? And you have to sign the citation in the presence of court. So it's much like a citizen's arrest, but a little bit lower. So then the case goes from there. So coming back to this bus situation. So there was lots of complaints about why we can't move this bus along, why we can't get rid of this bus. So the public right of way is where law enforcement has jurisdiction. So jurisdiction in our county, especially from a law enforcement perspective, is everybody knows OSP, Baker County Sheriff's Office, and then when you get into Baker City, the Baker City Police Department. Those are three local, and then out here we have Forest Service law enforcement as well. So those are four different jurisdictions that do not, they overlap, but they only go out, they don't come in. So if we had a map of Oregon, visualize a map of Oregon, Oregon State Police have jurisdiction over the entire state of Oregon. We all went to the same academy in Salem, but they were hired by the Oregon State Police. So their jurisdiction included the whole state of Oregon. For all our OSP buddies that live in Baker and are assigned to Baker, they're assigned to Baker, but they have jurisdiction over the whole state. For the Baker County Sheriff's Office, we are all certified law enforcement in the state of Oregon, but my jurisdiction is in Baker County alone. We have 36 counties in Oregon, and each sheriff's office has jurisdiction only in their county. Okay, so the sheriff's office has jurisdiction over 3,088 square miles, which is Baker County. And then within that, you have Baker City Police Department, which has jurisdiction over Baker City limits, which is 7.5 square miles. So Baker City, the police department, does not have jurisdiction in all of Oregon, just in their assigned area where they're sworn to patrol in the 7.5 square miles. But Sheriff's office has jurisdiction within that, and so does state police. So you open that up a little bit more. Now, the sheriff's office has jurisdiction in Baker County, but I don't have jurisdiction in Salem. I don't have jurisdiction in LaGrande. I don't have jurisdiction outside our county. But OSP has jurisdiction in our county. And so, like I say, it works out, not in. So let's zoom into Sumter here. Sumter falls under Baker County Sheriff's Office jurisdiction, but this is a state highway. So you have a state highway that goes through here. So that is Oregon State Police jurisdiction. Everything outside those 2 lanes of highway is Baker County Sheriff's Office jurisdiction. Now, everything outside of the roadway, so in between roadway and private property, there's public right-of-way. And public right-of-way is under the jurisdiction of Sumter City Hall. So, specifically for this bus situation, this bus was parked off the roadway, which made it not state jurisdiction and not county jurisdiction. And it wasn't on private, so a private citizen couldn't call and say, hey, somebody's trespassing on my property. It was on public right-of-way, which anybody, any one of us can park on. And if there's any complaints or problems with the right-of-way, it goes to the jurisdiction. So in this case, it would be Sumter City Hall. And halfway, it would be halfway City Hall. Everybody has these problems. So what I was talking about with Mayor was that there's lots of these similar situations. And so we couldn't intervene with this, with the bus, because it wasn't on the roadway. It wasn't blocking the roadway. And it wasn't on anybody's private property. It was on public right-of-way, which has to do with the jurisdiction for the City Hall, which there's no ordinances for. So even if there was an ordinance in place in Sumter that said you couldn't park for more than 72 hours in one spot, the city would have to figure out a way to enforce that. Now we'll take an example like Baker City Police Department. They have an ordinance officer. They have an assigned paid person that's what they focus on. It is not a sworn individual, not a sworn police officer. This is a citizen with authority to given to them by the Baker City Police Department to enforce ordinances only. Now, if you think back to the list that I told you about, we have crimes, and then we have violations, and then we have ordinances. All they can enforce is ordinances. That's it. Because in order to enforce violation or any crime, you have to be a certified law enforcement officer. So that works great for Baker City, because if there's something, they'll tag vehicles, there's dog barking, they have a whole set of ordinances out there, and they have the rules, what they are, what's allowed, and what the consequences are. And they have someone to enforce them. The problem with our outlying communities is that A, not every community has the same ordinances, and B, they have nobody to enforce them. The sheriff's office does not enforce ordinances. It's not that we're not willing to, it's just that it doesn't fall under our jurisdiction. And the sheriff, I know, has always been of the stance that if any mayor or city council or city hall needs help in issuing either a citation, we won't issue the citation, but if you have a designated person to issue a citation or a summons or something like that from City Hall, and you feel like it's a high-risk situation where there's going to be a confrontation or anything like that, we will escort or be on standby if somebody needs help if there's a confrontation. But as far as the sheriff's office having authority to issue a citation for ordinances, it does not exist. So I know there's a lot of stuff on there.
Question.
Yes, sir.
So what you're saying is City of Sumter is on their own. There is no law enforcement to deal with this situation because your bus is sitting on city property.
It's sitting on city right of way. Yeah.
Okay, in some instances where people park in parking lots where they're not authorized to park, they can have them towed.
Correct, the owners of the property, yes.
Can the
Like,
city have this bus code?
that's if you have it in your ordinances or not. If you have it, whatever rules you have written down, yeah, that's what you have to rely on. So I would, if you have something written down or not, I would,
Yeah, this is the problem, is we have our ordinances that are from 1980s, and they say you can't do this. Period. So that's why our next step is we have to go through and make consequences for violating our ordinances.
So you're saying in the 1980 ordinances, you can't tow?
It doesn't, it doesn't say if you park here for 4 days, you're gonna be tagged and towed. It does not say that. And that's why we want to, this is in January, we want to work on making some consequences for things. Because back in the 80s, they'd say, you can't do this, and you'd say, okay, and they'd move. We're in a different environment now. So we have to update.
But the county could be available, county law enforcement could be available if there's any confrontation.
correct, yeah, that's always, because the confrontation is potential crime. And that fall, in a fight, somebody menacing somebody, I'm gonna, you know, if you don't get off my porch, I'm gonna kill you, or I'm gonna shoot you, or I'm gonna kick your butt, or something. That, these are threats and, you know, possible, attempted assaults, or, you can fit that into harassment, or trespassing, or, disorderly conduct, or if there's any physical fight, then it goes up from there. You know, there can be an assault, and we can issue a citation or take somebody into custody for that, but that's a crime. So if it's something that turns into a crime, then obviously, we've always been here to serve you when it comes to, you know, enforcing laws.
Well, as far as the city's concerned, when they do maintenance on the ordinances and we correct them, now they have the opportunity to remove the bus. And that would be when they would call the county and say, hey, we need to have somebody stand by.
A standby, yes.
If we had in the ordinance that we're gonna tag you and tow you in 24 hours, and if we feel that this could be a confrontational situation, we would call the sheriff and say, we're going to do this. Is somebody available to be standby in case there was a confrontation? Then again, it would be.
And I don't know what was ever said to them. Their last day, we simply walked over
I
there,
know, yeah.
banged on the door and had a civil conversation.
Yeah.
Said, this bus needs to go. You
Yeah.
start,
Right.
hurt our business. Fired that son of a bitch up, and all got gas and drove off. So
Yeah.
there was no shit.
Yeah.
It wasn't broke down like they told everybody. And I mean,
The thing is, though, like on that street, exactly where they park though, because theoretically, they weren't parked on the edge of the street in a right of way. They're parked in city street because the city street's 45 feet wide. And even though there's rocks and everything.
So the roadway is defined as a lane of travel.
Regardless of the dimension.
Yeah, so everybody has different dimensions, so you can't, it just, you have to look at the definition of a roadway. So if they're impeding traffic or obstructing traffic, then it's in the lane of travel. And so our towing policies for the sheriff's office have to say where it's impeding traffic or in the lane of travel, or incident to arrest, or incident to a search warrant, or it's abandoned, or it just depends. And even those things are out in the county outside of city jurisdiction.
So there's a difference between the roadway and the so-called city right of way of the street, which was designated back in the day.
Well, see, that's why I say, because we do have a book that does tell us that that's a 60-foot road. However, a 60-foot road, it has the easements in it. The road is actually, I think it's either 35 or 40 feet is what the road would be. But because of where this bus was, which they could have moved and it would have changed things, but because of the parking in which is actually on Mike's property and where this bus was parked, the road gets narrow. And if we were a town like Baker where we had traffic on that road, this bus would be in the travel lane because you would have to wait for one to come before the next could go. So therefore it would be in the way of traffic. But because of in Sumter, we don't have, they don't have the traffic up there, so we don't.
Where there's no
have that issue.
dividing lines
Mhm.
and, yeah,
But-
so,
But the problem is, Charlie, everybody and their uncle parks right there to use
Yeah.
that park.
Right.
So you have a precedent saying, even though by ordinance, you have a width of the road, right? You have a precedent set, and you've gone after those people.
we did talk about that. Yeah, John, thanks for bringing that up. We did talk about that as well, because so what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if you're gonna start talking about, hey, you're parked here, you can't do that.
Mhm.
And if they look across the street and say, well, that person's doing the same thing. And there have been situations where, not for the sheriff's office, but other agencies where they say, well, why are you telling me I can't, when just down the road, they can't? Just because I'm not a resident here, or it's not my house, you know, public right of way. Anybody can park. If you lived in the city of Baker, in the neighborhood, somebody, you know, your neighbor down the street doesn't want somebody to know their home, and they park every night in front of your house on the roadway, you can't do anything about it, because you can park wherever you want.
And we do that place that they were parking, I mean, even your customers parked in at times, so.
And
it
it's-
really is not, yeah,
Yeah, and there has been, situations where people sue certain agencies
Mhm.
for targeting and stuff like that.
sure.
And, you know, I don't have much information on that. I just know it does happen because of, you know, for whatever reason, it doesn't, the look or whatever it is, doesn't agree with certain people. And, they say, well, you can't do it technically for whatever reason. And they say, well, but everybody else is doing it, they're just targeting me. And so, that's outside of the scope
Right.
of law enforcement. I'm just saying that,
Mhm.
civilly, you know, that's, something that could be looked at, but
However, if there was signage that said that this had, from this point to this point has a 2-hour parking limit, then something could be done because you've got the
sure,
the
what's gonna,
parameters of what is acceptable in that area. It may be different on this street, but,
my first question
Then it
would
would've
be,
been-
is what's gonna be?
right.
Yeah.
But
So what's the
then-
violation?
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's the
asking
problem.
is,
We have. to
we
have
would just be able though to say, okay, you can only stay here 2 hours, you have to move. I mean, it doesn't
Sure.
eliminate that
Yeah.
problem, but
When you
at
have that,
least,
yeah, I appreciate that, what you're saying. When you have the sign, it usually is, you know, accompanied by a statute number or ordinance number or something like that. And when you look at that number, it gives you the whole violation and the consequence
okay,
to what happens if you don't. And that, just because you have a sign doesn't make it enforceable by the sheriff's office.
so it would
It
have,
would
still
still
have
be
to have the ordinance
enforceable.
reflect
Yeah.
that.
Has to have consequences for the action.
Okay.
So, I mean, like I say,
We have a lot of
this
ordinances.
is the
that
issue
don't
that
have
we have to deal with.
And I just want you all to know that Sumter's not alone in this. We
Right.
have a conversation with, you know, all our outside, not all of them, but a lot of our outside communities share the same frustrations. It's the same answer. It's not that nobody's willing to help, it's just that, like I said in the beginning, from a law enforcement perspective, everything is jurisdiction. And then we didn't even talk about Forest Service law enforcement.
Where they're at now, but
I've heard, I haven't seen,
but that's
Social
the
Security
Forest Service got. to
that's
do it.
Forest Service now, yeah.
14
And
days.
so you can look at a map, and whichever map you guys have, it'll have the green area for Forest Service and the yellow for BLM, and everything else is private. Or if you have Onyx, it'll show you what's private and what's public and who the jurisdiction is. And then in city limits, it does the same thing. So it's complicated, there's a lot, I mean,
Well, I appreciate, you know, kind of explaining it.
Yeah, because we had a motorhome a year ago, I think it was, that actually did the same thing. They got chased off because they were down in the white spot down and they were actually in there. And finally they got them moved out of that. Then they came up and they were actually in the circle up here. Then they moved out of there and then they ended up, well, they were in town for a little while. And then after that, they went up the hill and I think that's where it died, right? And that's where it got pulled into.
Them guys come off the Bald Mountain Mine.
Oh,
So the city has work to do to, you know, get some consequences. And then, you know, keep visiting with Deputy Maldonado.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
And that's what we're here for.
He comes up here often, so I do, pick his brain a lot.
Yeah, but
Yes.
the thing is though, is once again, if the Forest Service goes in and runs these guys off out of Social Security point, and they don't go down the
Hopefully
mountain
they go down
instead of coming back up to us.
My understanding is, and I'm pretty positive I saw the same bus, I just didn't pay attention, but it was between here and John Day on my way to Redmond one weekend. It's been a couple months.
It's just slowly.
But, I assumed it was the same bus when I heard about it. So the reality is that we still live in a free country and people can, if I decide to live in a bus and just, you know, and people do it, except that most of the time when people do that, they live in nice fifth wheels that are functioning and they don't leak fluids and, you know, people do it a certain way that is respectful and with a little more etiquette, but they still have a right to do that. And
So basically, when this bus hits the highway, do we call the sheriff's department or do we call OSP? Which is the best?
what are we calling for?
Because the vehicle is unsafe, it doesn't travel at safe speeds, somebody has to walk behind the bus as it goes
So
down the highway.
if you're behind the bus on the highway and you call OSP.
Okay.
Highway 7 is I mean, the sheriff's office will respond. We run traffic on it. Like I said, jurisdiction runs in. It doesn't run out. And so,
Well, it took them an hour and it took them almost 2 hours to go out here by the fire department into town.
what I'm
And it
saying
takes
is,
somebody
if
has to walk behind the
if
bus.
you're behind them,
Okay.
and not if you hear about, you know, somebody told you at the store that they're, you know, if you heard or you see, I should say, that you're behind them and you see whatever it is, it's just like anything else. You're behind a vehicle that's failing to maintain lane, you're gonna call that in.
Okay.
So if you're behind a bus that's going way too slow, it's leading the parade because it's going way too slow and won't yield, or it's leaking the fluid, or smoking, you know, terribly from the exhaust or something like that, you're gonna call it in anyway. So you're gonna call dispatch and they're gonna ask you, okay, where are you at? And you're gonna say Highway 7, milepost 30, and they'll say, okay, we'll transfer you to Oregon State Police. They might ask you a few more questions, but they'll transfer you to Oregon State Police.
Okay.
So does the city have to have a municipal court to go with this ordinance officer?
No, the city actually uses justice court. They used to have municipal court, years ago, but it's been a long time. They just use justice court.
Can the city have a municipal court?
You mean like City of Sumter?
That's the other part.
City of Sumter?
Yeah, can they have?
I believe-
Enforce their ordinance.
Yes, I believe the kid, depends on what your,
It is in the
Yeah.
charter.
It is in the
yeah, it depends on what it says in your documentation. I would definitely ask your council, you
Yeah.
know, because those laws change as time passes as well. But
We don't have a county ordinance, county law, state law, or anything, doesn't affect that. It doesn't say we can't have it.
not that
Or do you have to have one to enforce your ordinance?
that you'd have to have a court to enforce ordinances.
It has to be a court for.
So if we snapped our fingers and in June or in January, you guys had all your ordinances in line and somehow you had somebody to enforce those, ordinances and you gave somebody a citation for ordinance violation. Before that got in place, you would have to either figure out a way to do, hearings or some type of court here, a municipal court, or to contract with the Baker County Justice Court in Baker City to have them manage those citations. So you would issue a citation for Baker County Justice Court, which is what others
Yeah.
have done when it comes to dog ordinances and stuff like that.
Sounds like a 600-pound gorilla to me, because once the city gets their ordinances in straight, sorted out, and then they gotta have a court, and then they have to have, Charlie's gonna go out and write citations, et cetera and so forth, that'd
Yeah, I mean, I think realistically, the city would contract with the Baker court, because
And we
I
already,
don't really, you know, in this day and age, talk about being confrontational. I
When I-
mean.
Yeah, and I don't know if that answers your
Well,
question.
there has to be court.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Okay, and your officer, your city officer here, does he have to be certified?
for ordinances, you don't, to issue a citation for ordinances, you don't have to be a sworn law enforcement officer. But, and if you're going to create an ordinance system that, where you cite a person for an ordinance violation into the city of Sumter, then the mayor would be the ultimate authority for that. I don't know how that would work. That'd be a good attorney question, because I'm not familiar. So you don't like attorneys? That makes two of us. When I first started in 2007, the site books had, Baker County Circuit Court, Baker County Justice Court, and Halfway Municipal Court. And, I remember I wrote a few citations and nobody told me that it wasn't a thing anymore. When I asked the now sheriff, Travis Ash, I said, so what's this all about? He goes, oh, if you issue a citation for traffic for violation in Halfway, you can set him into Halfway Court, and they hold court like once a month. That way they don't have to go all the way to Baker. That stayed in my brain. And so a couple years later, I was writing citations up there for crap feed one weekend, and I wrote like 5 citations and cited them all into Pineyville Court. And they all got thrown back at me. Hey, who is this? You know, we don't have court up here anymore. And so we had to redo the site books. But it was the thing not that long ago, which I know Huntington also had their own marshal. And they had court there. That was before then. So it wasn't that long ago where each city had their own municipality. And I can see you in a black robe. Let me see, you have a gavel
I
already.
got a gavel, yeah. No,
Well, I have,
That'll be your bailiff.
I've got a sign over there.
Yeah.
I have come across records where,
Yeah.
individuals in town have been cited for something and it came to the council.
Right. It's in our ordinance. But
It was a long time ago,
Yeah.
but there are records.
I think now it would just, it's not real feasible. I think you guys would have to be up here hanging out.
Yeah. And there is that.
The thing is, somebody in the city who writes citations, there has to be a court for that.
Right,
Correct.
Or,
with your contract with
And generally,
and the city will have to contract with somebody.
Baker,
with Baker
Baker
County
Court.
Justice Court.
Justice Court.
And, for the few ordinances that, have been written, that I've seen, they all get cited into Justice Court and then Judge Kearns deals with them at that point. So,
Okay.
I know it's complicated, but is there any questions?
Unless you want to be a judge,
Say what?
unless you want to sit here.
You can elect a judge.
We can elect you as
I
a
don't
judge.
want to be judge, and I don't want to be the, we already talked about that.
Okay, any other questions?
I know that's
Give it
clear.
20 to,
Yeah,
you know, I'll be calling you again anyway.
that's fine. That's what I'm here for. So I know that's clear as mud and
Well,
as a community member, I can share your frustration,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, we've been in Baker County for 20 years and, I know the county's changed a lot since we first moved here. So,
No, that helps. It does.
Your nuisance ordinances or laws or whatever are only applicable on private property, is that right?
correct. Yes, sir. The city right away. So that's another thing that we talked about, and I hear that complaint often is that the people that get complaints have junk cars piled up all over city right away, or they have the garbage all over city right away, or whatever it is, and they issue a complaint to me for the nuisance ordinance violation. And, it doesn't apply to the nuisance ordinance because the nuisance ordinance specifically is for private property.
Is there a definition for nuisances?
Yes. I
Yes.
agree.
Yeah, and do you have one on file? Yeah.
We have a copy
Definition
of it.
of nuisance.
Just the nuisance, a copy of the nuisance ordinance,
Yeah.
yes, and there's three, so the nuisance ordinance has three components, the accumulation of solid waste, and there's a definition for that, and solid waste, what's considered solid waste, and then, dangerous buildings or structures, and accumulation of inoperable vehicles, more than three. And so, those are the three qualifiers for the Baker County nuisance ordinance. Yeah, and it's on private property.
We can get you a copy of that.
Yeah.
We've got that, so we can get you a copy of it, anybody that wants that.
I'll be on,
Okay.
paying our water bill next month.
I think it's on the web.
Okay, any other questions?
Well, I appreciate
Gives
your
us a
time.
lot to think about, and work
does.
on. I appreciate it.
Don't shoot the messenger.
No, I like to call the messenger.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Very
Have a
much.
good night.
Good night.
Merry Christmas. if I don't see
Merry
you.
Christmas, yeah. Oh, John, that's going to be.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for giving the time. I just thought it would help kind of hear things from him. And like I say, we're very aware of this problem now. We've got some guidance from the sheriff's office, and we are going January, we're gonna really hammer at this for getting the consequences. So, and we will, once we start getting, we'll have some public hearings and stuff. So everybody will know what's going on and get some input.
Who's gonna write the citation?
Well, we haven't worked on that yet. That's part of the thing. We have to decide,
That's step three.
that's step, we gotta get.
You volunteering, Skip?
Yeah,
I know.
we gotta get the consequences first, then we have to decide what we're gonna do about citations. If it's gonna be a paid position, there's some moving parts to this still.
I don't know who or what.
But it's at the top of the list.
I think.
So, okay. Okay, so moving on, we'll go back to, now we're into new business. Like I said, new business. Yeah, as you see, Rob Gaston's not here today. He had a conflict. So I have all the checks. Everybody's got the, it's here somewhere, the bills to be paid. There are a couple of them that are the large, or month, or just a one-time thing is we have this year, or this month, the John Deere, grader payment, which, was a big hit at $15,000. It's a once a year. And then we had, when was that water main break? Last winter, we did the water main break that was from the bridge. We had that fixed, and M2 Construction, who did that, just now finally got us a bill. So that bill is here, and unfortunately, it's $43,000. So we knew it was coming, so, it's just, they're kind of bad on paperwork. And looking at his appropriations review, we're still within acceptable limits. And then Rob will be here in January to really give us a call. This month, we went through a lot of money, but December is usually the month for some big end of the year payments. We paid Goslin a little more this month also because they're helping with the audit. The 2022-23 audit that we're pushing to get done soon. You guys have any other questions on the?
No.
Okay, then I entertain a motion to, okay, the bills as presented and pay our bills for this month.
I make a motion that pay the December bills for this month.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Oh. The next thing is resolution 435-24, for housing. Is this the same verbiage as this different verbiage?
It's the same that we were given.
Okay. You need to read,
I do.
okay, go for it.
A resolution, resolution number 435-24. A resolution of the city council for the city of Sumter in the matter of supporting assisted housing programs. Whereas the city of Sumter has received an Oregon Community Development Block Grant, and whereas the city of Sumter has certified in its grant contract with the state that it will comply with the requirements of Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended, popularly known as the Fair Housing Act, and will take action to affirmatively further fair housing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that it is the policy of the city of Sumter to encourage government-assisted housing as a source of affordable, safe, and sanitary housing opportunities for persons of lower, middle, and fixed income. This resolution is effective immediately upon its enactment by the city council.
And again, this is a resolution that we needed to complete to help close out the water grant. Any questions?
No.
I entertain a motion to pass resolution 435-24, fair housing.
I'll make a motion to pass resolution 435-24, fair housing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, snowmobiling at the grounds. We have two things in regards to this, about plowing the parking lot and, relation. Mr. Bark is here. Are we planning on doing races?
I'm voting.
Do you have a time frame? I know we don't really have snow yet, so what is your time frame?
I would like to, if we have enough snow to do it Martin Luther King weekend, which is the 18th, 19th, I believe.
Of January?
Yeah. And then possibly having a second race sometime mid-February and weekend before, or after, or maybe during the Buffalo Run. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
what I have to figure out with Snowball Club, so.
Well, and then I also have your policy and contract for special events at the ground. Okay. So we had talked last year about keeping the fairgrounds out earlier than waiting until the real heavy snow and then having to, are we still on board with that, or?
That's my recommendation is to keep up with it. Cause it's easier to keep up with a little bit of snow here and there than it is to try to go move
I agree.
a wall.
Especially once it melts and hardens. I mean, it's got more likelihood of damaging our equipment too.
And then also, once you start plowing, I've already talked to Tim about that for last year, as once you start plowing that, you know, the ground will freeze, and then we won't be tearing up sod and stuff either. So, to me, it's feasible to do it as the snow comes.
And what are we going to charge them? It looks like last year we did parking lot clearance for $3.50, and that we did a reservation fee for $1 up there.
And I
So,
think we had talked too, that there would probably be more likelihood of people going and doing sledding and stuff like that if they could get into the parking lot at other times,
right,
cross-country skiing. So that was, I think, another reason why we
we
said,
have to keep it open. for
if we
parking.
kept it open, it would allow the residents to use that area
Well,
too.
even like Ryan, who has customers that come in with the big toy haulers and stuff, there would be someplace they could go.
That was
Not-
one of the things we discussed
Mhm.
last year was trying to keep it open all winter long.
Yeah.
Because we have trailers and vehicles.
Oh, so I said, so right,
So
yeah,
not parking down the middle of town, or on somebody's property, unloading sled and stuff, gives them a place to.
The thing is, though, when you start looking at it from this aspect, it's, I know what we charged last year to do it, but if we're gonna try to keep it, the whole park open throughout the year,
Or a large portion.
for the major portion of it, we can't really make one person pay for
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So the thing is, though, is Mike, would it be something that we could probably ask the snowmobile club to help with, to offset some of that fuel cost?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say the labor end of it, but
yeah,
the thing is, though, is it should go a lot faster.
once you get it.
Well, once you get it set and you get it opened up, but the thing is, though, is if you maintain it, maintaining a whole lot faster than
Yeah.
starting out from ground zero. But I can't come and tell Jake that, hey, you know what, if you're gonna do this, you need to pay.
Well, and
That would be something that you could probably
the
get
races, they don't make a lot of
money.
money, whatever money they generate, it usually goes back to the racers,
Mhm.
for the most part.
Mhm.
And so they don't have a lot of money, so what they've gotta do to get participation in the races is to make it worthwhile. People
Right.
come from anywhere, so if it's a community effort, kind of like a bazaar, we like to keep it going, so we're doing this, and so I see no reason why this. The groomer is not designed
Mhm.
to do that kind of work.
Right.
So I would say that snowmobile, I can't make any commitments until I talk to the club, which is a week from Thursday, about monies.
Well,
Well, and like I said, I think what we need to do here is to make the decision on if we're gonna maintain the lot. Cause I think that that's the thing to do.
yeah. I think
And if we can get some monies to come towards that, that's good. Because to be able to plow that lot's probably gonna be a few $100 easy.
Well, the thing is, so what we're thinking is the city will maintain it and hopefully we would get some reimbursement.
Well, and we try to make a
A
donation.
partial reimbursement, not the whole
Well,
thing.
like I said, we, from the poker line, we try to
Yeah,
provide a charitable donation, something like, so that could be kind of in the mix in terms of that, so, I think it's doable. I mean,
John, you had a,
One of the factors I think council should be aware of, coming back from the dog run the other day, I went to check the LZ out. Because the parking lot was not open, someone was parked in the LZ out snowmobile. So if you keep the parking lot open, and I was gonna talk to Kurt about putting some flagging up.
yeah,
I could have got a helicopter in there, I could have got somebody in the LZ, because they were way back in the back, but
okay.
keeping the parking area open will keep our LZ out area open too.
No, I think.
Yeah, the last time I was down there last year too, John, I think we need to get a sign stating that it is the LZ.
There are 3 or 4 signs, but they're back at the circle of the LG.
Well, we need to
And
try
I
to put
will
them
talk
on
to
the
Kurt
front.
about getting some larger signs to put there at the entrance, Charlie, and some flags that we can just drive through if we need to get in,
Okay,
okay?
Yeah, cause we flagged it off to keep people out of there
And
during the race.
all the racers have been very good about keeping their people out of the LZ. But these people that were there did no better. They went where they could get to, just pull back in there. Anyway, parking lot's empty, LZ will be much safer.
Okay.
I got one more FYI. This year, OSSA has cut us on monies for grooming.
Oh,
We're cut to about 1,000 miles. Normally, we're grooming about 2,000 miles. Not related to the races,
mhm.
other than the fact that we try to go out and help groom the tracks. I don't know where that, I asked Wes to be here, Christensen to be here tonight, and he's not here. So that's something to throw in the back pocket and think about. I don't know how that's gonna play out, so.
So, Carol, Marcy, got any?
So you're gonna keep the fee at $1 then, because I mean, they've been paying for the plowing, but then you rent the fairgrounds to them for $1.
Yeah,
Or use it as, public events, keep public events going.
Right, I mean, I think this is, again, and it's all subject to snow too. I think just, you know, have them do the paperwork, make sure we have the insurance and rent it for $1. And we will maintain the, parking lot. And if somebody ends up donating some money towards fuel, then we'll
Put it towards that.
put it towards that.
What did it cost us last year for fuel?
Remember, we kicked $350 of volunteers did to help Coy out with the parking lot last year. So if we need to do that again, I'm sure we can talk about it and get some money.
That's what I said.
I think that's what it costs, isn't it, Charlie?
Yeah, I think that's what we.
It says 350, yeah.
So I think, yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's
we reimburse Coy for that.
And I think by
We
the
can
time,
help out again.
by the time we got all said and done, it was a little over $700. You know, but like I said, that comes plowing a lot of snow. We
Yeah.
pushed a lot of snow.
But if you stay up with it, it won't take you.
Yeah, if you keep up with it, that's what I say. You can go up there and he should be done in 15, 20 minutes versus 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so, somebody want to make a motion that we will keep the Brown parking lot open? The city will follow it, continue to follow it.
I make a motion that the city can just continuous plowing of the parking lot for the winter months to allow access. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Okay, now we only have to hope for snow.
Yep. That's better than last year.
Okay, see, this,
Do you have to approve the races?
oh, I guess we do need to approve the raises.
Just look up.
Thanks, Matt. What are we gonna do without you? If you all
You got my number.
If you all don't know, this is his last council meeting.
What?
Yes, you're all stuck with me trying to get that thing started, the meeting, so.
Well, he can't do it. What are you gonna do with
That's
it?
what I said, good luck.
Kate, come on now.
I retired 15 years ago.
So yes, are we going, I'd entertain a motion to, approve the snowmobile races. Permitting to have snow.
Well, I make the motion to approve the tentative snowmobile time races for January 18th and 19th and possibly in February around the Poker Run.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. You have to forget that?
Ooh, done early this time.
I did.
Old resolution.
Yeah, then on old business, we have, resolution 434-24, limiting liability on city property. We read it at the last meeting. And, there was a question, and Daryl, you got your question resolved on that?
My question's resolved. The only thing that I was concerned with, that it doesn't list ATVs and that.
Right, it doesn't list ATVs, because that's what the state statute was. I asked the city attorney about that, and of course I don't have the right paperwork. But yes, that's the way the state is. Paige's answer was, if that came up, it would just be, you might have to get somebody to court. But the state statute does not list motorized vehicle, this is just hearing that.
Yeah, there's not too many horses we gotta worry about.
No, well, there's a few that come along. I see them, got cows too.
All right.
So anyway, I do entertain a motion to pass resolution 434-24, limiting liability on city property.
I'll make the motion to pass resolution 434-24.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilor comments, before John or you guys, I have your letter
Oh.
for the museum. we've got your certificate.
Right, I was just gonna say that, switching hats here. Volunteers has a commercial policy now.
Yeah.
You have COI.
Yeah.
ODOT has COI, City of Remington has a COI, and I just got the ODOT permit back this afternoon.
So we're good.
We're good.
Okay, I have one thing here for anybody. Commissioner Witham sent me a email wanting to know that due to, the location of the parks and properties in Baker County, they're looking for somebody to sit on the Parks Board. And they were wondering if somebody from Sumter area would like to represent Sumter because the dredge tailings above Phillips Reservoir are considered county park property. So she wanted to know if there was anybody in the community that would be interested in being on this board for parks.
Would that be a volunteer thing?
Uh-huh.
I was thinking Matt, he's about ready to retire.
There you go. Yeah, it definitely says volunteer form. The only thing I can say is that we do know that the county owns that property and it might be wise for somebody to have a voice on that board just to protect our dredge tailing area and stuff, so.
I am not volunteering because I do not want to live in the garage for opening my mouth. up and
Well,
getting
I
on
don't
the
know,
board.
and I'm the same way, I would love to do this, but but it doesn't necessarily have to be a board member, so if anybody knows, Skip, Billy's pointing at you. So, anyway, I'm putting this out there, if anybody knows anybody that'd be interested, I'll have this form in City Hall, because it would be of interest to have somebody that'd be interested in at least going to the meetings and having a voice and make sure something, we don't have a golf course in the tailings. I mean, you know. Anyway, moving on, the only other thing I have is next year, we're supposed to do the grant for doing a line up from the bridge to Macaulay Creek and put meters in. It's been held up all summer by the Forest Service because they say we have to do an archaeological study along the road that's already been paved twice and there's a pipe in there. But since the study was done in the 1950s and 60s, they want it redone. I don't know what's going to be there that wasn't there in the 60s, but they have held us up. And there was nobody to do it. And just so everybody knows, we finally found somebody to do it. The magic thing is it's going to cost us $15,000. So we have a grant for the meters and that line. Business Oregon has what they call a 50-50 loan at a 1% interest that they're looking into, that if we wanted to, we can borrow the money instead of paying it out of our pocket. This is still in the works, but I just want to let you know that is coming up. And then next year, hopefully we'll be doing, start working on the wastewater. We're waiting for that award letter to come in soon too. So there's going to be more construction next year too. That's all I have. Daryl, you have council comments? No. No?
No.
No? Why do I always have to do that?
Because you're the busy bee.
And, something I wanted to bring up to you guys, I would like to just do one meeting in January. I'm going to be in Salem at the end of, January.
That's not the one, the 31st.
No,
That's your
it'll be the
picture.
28th. No, I'll be back. Everybody's been signed up for the 31st one. I'll be back. I got appointed to the League of Cities. I'm the League of Cities representative for Region 12, which is this area. So I'm going to try to go to some of the meetings, even though they're over on the other side of the mountain. And the League of Cities does pay for my transportation and my room, so it's not going to be a cost to the city. So, but it does bring in contacts for us to find more money and more things.
Plus another holiday weekend too.
Yeah. So, okay, public comment. John, oh.
Most people know that the Tucker Valley Community Volunteers now have the right to use the old church. I'd like everyone to know, for the season, we now have both propane heaters fired up. They're working very well. We can heat the building up full-time use. Anybody wants to use it?
No, we'll go for you.
So you're proposing the second meeting we cancel or the first?
The second.
Second, okay, so,
So
thank
we
you.
have one on January 14th, I think it is,
Okay.
and the 28th, we will not have a meeting because I just can't get that. And I'm hoping to get some good information from there.
I'll be surprised if we can get there.
Well, yeah. I'm gonna try. Just what I wanna do, to go to Salem and hobnob with all the senators and that, and all that, but like I say, it brings in money and stuff for us. Any more public comment? I.
make Make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
You're adjourned at 5:11. Thank you, everybody. I know it was a little long.